Mm. Hey everyone, how you doing? This is Ahman Green, Green Bay Packers all-time leading rusher, and you're watching Packers Total Access Live, your daily source for Packer content. Go Pack, go!
What's up, guys? Welcome into Packers Total Access. My name is Clayton. You can check us out on Packernet.com. Find me on Twitter at Packers_Access. Joined alongside Tim in Green Bay. Boy, we got a lot to cover this evening. We're going to hit on the trade deadline frenzy, a couple of key trades that took place today. They feel like free agent signings, to be honest with you, but a couple of key trades that took place that I thought were huge, very, very impactful trades. We'll also talk about the latest roster moves geared around the Packers. There was 3 or 4 moves made there with the practice squad, and obviously somebody being elevated to the active roster. We'll hit that with a little bit of Luke Musgrave talk. We'll also talk about Christian Watson and how he's actually, I feel like he's off to a stronger start than he had in 2024, albeit he's getting, jumping into the lineup here halfway through the season. We'll dive into a little bit of tape there. And then Jeff Hafley, showing a new wrinkle in his defense. I think you guys will be really, really interested in seeing as well. So we're going to put Chalk Talk off till tomorrow because there was just so much to cover today. We'll dive into all that tomorrow. Before we do, though, if you guys would do that YouTube stuff for me, take a quick second, hit like. It's free. It just takes a second. It helps the channel more than you know. Also, if you're new here, welcome into PTA. Thank you for making us a part of your evening. We're not experts. We're not insiders. We're not media. We're fans just like you talking Packers on the daily. So if you're looking for that type of content, make sure you click subscribe and hit that bell icon so you're notified when we go live here in the future. Tim, how you doing, man? What y'all getting down in the 20s up there? Am I reading that correct? Or is that maybe next couple of days?
Yeah, it's coming. It's in the near future. It's getting a little chipper at night, but beautiful days right now in Green Bay. At least on the east side it is, Happy to be here, though. Talking some ball, talking some trade deadline. Romeo Doubs is still a Green Bay Packer. Let's go.
Tim fired up about that, man. I know Coach Lynn, little spoiler alert, he said, it's Josh Wild time, baby. That's right. We'll hit on that as well. Let's lead things off, Tim. Let's get into this trade talk, man. I don't know how long this segment will last. It might be 10 minutes. It might be 40 minutes. But this was just interesting today, man. All the trades that took place, obviously, as the one that kind of headlined it for me. I know Sauce Gardner, we'll talk about it in a second. You guys know when we were talking about, hey, what kind of trade would you be interested in? I said, the only position I would really be interested in is another defensive tackle, right? A tier 1 position. And it just so happens there was someone that was rumored to be on the market, on the trade market there, and it was Quinnen Williams. Guys, I view Quinnen Williams as a top 3 defensive tackle in the league. Some may have him top 5, top 10, what have you. But Quinnen Williams is a dog, man. He has been for a very long time. So the Jets and the Cowboys make the trade, okay? So here was the blockbuster trade. The Cowboys are trading for Jets Pro Bowl defensive tackle Quinnen Williams, said Ian Rappaport, sending a first-round pick and more to the New York Jets, per the insiders, a new home for one of the NFL's best to team that values interior defensive linemen as New York Jets build for the future. So the Jets ended up getting a second-rounder this coming draft and a first rounder in 2027, okay, next year. And then, of course, Maisie Smith, however you say it, also went to the Jets, okay? The Cowboys get Quinnen Williams. Now, you guys know I'm a Packer fan, right? I seen Packer fans raking the Cowboys over the coals for this trade. I think this is a solid trade for the Cowboys, man. I really do. I think that they got a lot better on the defensive front with this. Now, it would mean a lot more, Tim, if you still have Micah Parsons, right? However, and some people are saying, well, you wouldn't have those first round. Yeah, they traded their first round picks. So imagine if they had kept Micah Parsons, worked that out, right? Not traded for Kenny Clark. Obviously, you wouldn't have him. But then you get Quinnen Williams paired with Micah Parsons. That's been Micah Parsons' problem in Dallas, is he didn't have that guy with him, So I thought that was really interesting that they kind of took this approach. Now, to me, it makes their team better. But as you guys seen on Monday Night Football last night, they're more than just a defensive tackle away, obviously. So I agreed with the move by the Cowboys. I just don't agree with it in the sentiment of why did you ship off Micah Parsons if you're going to go get a guy that, man, it would have been real hard, Tim. Imagine in a pass rushing situation putting Quinnen Williams at 3 tech and Micah Parsons on the other. good luck blocking that front, right?
Absolutely. That's why we wanted to keep Rashawn here if we were going to bring Micah in. And Williams was one of those guys that I was kind of holding out hope that we might make a move for. But obviously we didn't have any first rounders to give up. Right. We gave those up, and Goot's certainly not going to give up a second. At least apparently that's the truth, as we've passed the deadline already. So good trade for the Cowboys. I wish we could have snagged him. I feel like we could have got a little better too, as a squad right now.
Yeah, and like you said, man, obviously not having the first round pick this year and next year, you probably would have had to give up the rest of your draft, to kind of equate what's on the trade chart there. And yeah, it's also, you've got Devontae Wyatt. Like they believe in Devontae Wyatt. I feel firm in that. Now listen, Devontae Wyatt, and I'm going to be honest here, and maybe he'll develop into a better player than Quinnen Williams, but Devontae Wyatt is here. Quinnen Williams is here. Right. Yep. But who knows? Devontae Wyatt might step into that level of play in the next year or two. Hopefully this year, by the second half of the season, and then you've got now Micah Parsons, Rashawn Gary, and Devontae Wyatt. Good luck blocking that, and we've also doing some really creative stuff with Quay, which I'll mention here on the back side of the show. So again, Quinnen Williams is now a Dallas Cowboy. I think that's a good move for Dallas. And want to know what everybody thinks in the comments there. If you're watching this video back later, let me know if you think that was a good movie for the Cowboys or not. Now, obviously, the Jets were having a fire sale here, Tim, so they traded off arguably their best player or their second best player, if you think Quinnen Williams is their best player. Adam Schefter tweeted out, ESPN sources Colts are trading 2 first-round picks to the Jets for cornerback Sauce Gardner. This one I feel way different about, Tim. Ain't no way I'm giving up 2 first-round picks for a cornerback. I don't care how good they are. Now, With that being said, the Colts are one of, if not the best teams in the league right now. That could change in the second half of the season. NFL stands for not for long, right? If they continue to play well and now they got a shutdown corner, I can see how it makes sense. But boy, you talking about overpaying 2 first-round picks for a cornerback. I don't care if he's the best corner in the game. How often is your best corner just going to be completely neutralized by them throwing to the opposite side of the field? And if you force yourself to play man coverage, now you're playing into the offense's hands. That was something that was kind of popular about a decade ago. That sense has gone to the wayside. How do you feel about Sauce Gardner, man? Do you agree with me, disagree with me there? Because Sauce Gardner's a great corner, Tim.
Yeah, for sure.
A corner,
Yeah, and a closet Packer fan, right? We all know Sauce secretly wanted to be a Packer more than anything. I think what this signifies is that the Colts are all in right now,
right
at this point in the year. I agree, 2 firsts for a corner, and that's crazy. But props to Sauce. My understanding is he was kind of surprised by this deal. I think he found out 15 minutes after the negotiations were finalized or whatever. But hats off to Sauce, man. At least he's going to a contender. He's the hell out of that AFC East for sure. So, but yeah, we didn't have the picks to give him, and even if we did, 2 firsts and Kenny Clark for MP1 is one thing. 2 firsts butt naked through the trailer park for a corner halfway through the year is another. So. Maybe it'll work out for the Colts, but clearly that signifies that it's now for Indy, obviously.
No doubt. And listen, he's a great player. He's arguably the best corner in the game. 2-0 for this says you wouldn't give 2 firsts for primetime. Sauce Gardner's a good player, boys. But
corner is not a tier 1 position.
Right, and Sauce Gardner is not primetime. Like, I don't know how old you are, 2-0 for this, and I don't mean this in any disrespectful way. It seems like many people who pretend like these corners in today's game are just as good as Dion was in his prime.
Yeah.
I mean, I grew up watching it. Dion was unbelievable. Sauce Gardner's a great player. Dion is top 3, maybe the best corner in the history of the game.
Sauce isn't returning kicks. Sauce isn't playing receiver when you need him to.
I mean, he was just unbelievable, Tim. And when he picked the pass off, the whole offense went, oh, no, everybody get back. because he was going to house that sucker. And
Absolutely.
he was one of those dudes too that he could make your number one receiver disappear. But again, we're talking about a different era of football too, right?
True.
Where they would do that type of stuff. Hey, follow the number one. And in today's offense, in today's NFL, it feels like teams can scheme around that number one, right? There were so many times. I remember Richard Sherman, they had a lot of success, but with Richard Sherman, he only played one side of the field. What teams do? Well, we're just not going to throw over there, right? You can do essentially the same thing if a receiver follows your number one. That's why what Bill Belichick did so well was, he did the bullseye defense where he would put the number one corner on your number two receiver and then double team your number one receiver, forcing you to go to the third best option. And that's why Green Bay Packers and Mike McCarthy had so much success against Bill Belichick. You remember that game at Lambeau Field. It might have been Monday Night Football, if I remember correctly, where Jordy Nelson just went off. It's because they were putting Jordy in the three and just toasting him because that bullseye was completely neutralized. So the game has obviously changed. But yeah, to over this, would I give 2 first-round picks for prime time in his prime if the Super Bowl window is open? Yes.
Yep.
Sauce Gardner is a prime time.
So, and it's not a knock on Sauce, right?
Right.
Prime's on the level, and maybe Sauce is knocking on the door or something like that. Not a knock on him, right? But he's definitely not prime time.
I'm trying to think of a corner that would be in the same league as Sauce. Like, I'm sure Packer fans would go, or I'm not Sauce, but same league as Dion. I'm sure some Packer fans would say Charles Woodson was. Well, Charles Woodson in his Defensive Player of the Year, I can see the argument, but the problem there is they played him mostly in the nickel in the star position, and everything was just kind of, I don't want to say fabricated. I guess that is the right word though. You're kind of molding the defense around. Let's put Charles right in the middle of the defense. Let's fire him on a blitz. Let's drop him off a fire zone blitzes, things like that. And Dion was just a different era. It's hard to really judge that, but I would still, I'm trying to think of another corner, Tim. Can you think of another cornerback in the history of the game that you would say, yes, in their prime, they were better than Deion Sanders in his prime? I just can't. I can't think of one, man. I really can't.
It's tough. I don't even want to name names because anyone I could think of right now would just be, maybe an argument, but certainly wouldn't hold a candle to prime.
Mm-hmm. Right. And let's see here. Chuck Jaggers in the chat says prime time. That's it. I think he was referring to the first part of this conversation, right?
For sure.
Joe NC says, wow, how corner isn't a tier 1 position, but Kevin King is legit. The reason we didn't go to the Super Bowl. I
got to disagree.
Yeah,
disagree.
Yeah, it's first of all the play call there. Not only that, but if Kevin King giving up that touchdown before halftime is the reason we didn't go to the Super Bowl, listen, you also had David Bakhtiari go out in that game, if I remember correctly, and then all of a sudden we couldn't block the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
And I'm sure Kevin King didn't say, hey, put me on an island right before halftime all by my lonesome.
Yeah, he should have been playing over-the-top technique, but still, yeah. But, that doesn't – Joe, that doesn't mean it makes it all of a sudden a tier 1 position. If that's the case, you could say, okay, when an inside linebacker misses a tackle and somebody houses it for 90 yards, is that all of a sudden a tier 1 position? No, right?
Yep.
So – and again, I'm not telling everybody they have to agree with my tiers. You may think cornerback's more important than the defensive tackle or more important than the edge. I just, the football I've studied, I just disagree with that sentiment. Not that Joe is even saying that, but
No.
Let's see here. We got a super chat real quick. Jason Y, I appreciate you, buddy. He says, do you guys think the rest of the league caught up to Matt LaFleur's illusion of complexity offense? No, here's the thing, Jason. When Matt LaFleur was hired, the local media made this out to be this big thing, right? Like, we always talk about the illusion of complexity with simplicity at its base, right? Guys, that's every offense. Like, in the history of the National Football League, everybody runs the same concepts, right? They run the same concepts. They just get to it out of different formations and different looks, right? The illusion of complexity, I would love to ask some of the sports writers, what do you mean by that exactly? Because I think you would ask 5 or 6 different people and they would have different answers, right? Really, when I think of the illusion of complexity, you're running the same concepts, you're making it look different every play, right? Now, in terms of have people caught on to Matt LaFleur's offense, let's just kind of ask the question that way, Jason. I think his offense, it's not like his offense is different than McVay's, or it's different than Shanahan's or anyone else. There's actually a lot of other schemes, that outside of the Shanahan tree and the wide zone boot. I mean, here's a perfect way of explaining that, Jason. Matt LaFleur does not run the same scheme he ran when he took over in Green Bay, right? Everything was predicated off of wide zone boot, meaning you're running outside stretch plays, which is essentially an outside zone play, and your boot action off of that, right? Well, we ran that in a hybrid version of McCarthy's offense those first couple of years that LaFleur was here. And then all of a sudden the RPO game took over the league and everything shifted to mostly RPO. So we were, RPO, outside zone RPO is hard to run because the quarterback has to make a split-second decision of, do I have to take this snap, get my footwork back, and make the stretch throw, or start the stretch throw while still looking down the field and then trying to turn and wing it? 90% of the RPO game comes out of the gun set. So LaFleur came in, and we went hybrid, McCarthy, West Coast spread, and wide zone boot. Then we shifted to wide zone boot, RPO. And now we've shifted from that to RPO with duo mostly. And there's a lot of power. Like you're going to see on Chalk Talk tomorrow, we ran a couple counter plays, right? And it was GT counter, essentially what it is, and that's pin and pull, right? We ran some pin and pull when McCarthy was here.
Yep.
So the point I'm trying to make, Jason, everybody runs the same stuff in the league. Everybody. You can look at any offense across the league and you can find the same concepts. You can find the same type of runs. Now, some teams run it more than others, but in terms of just catching up to his illusion of complexity, listen, I think they're learning how to stay at home when you're doing some of this chicanery with the orbit motion and the spinneroo and fake to this guy. Absolutely, completely agree with you there if that's what you're saying, right? But yeah, I think that I will caution people, try to say this in a tactful way. I will caution fans, don't believe everything you hear right now, because I'm telling you, man, there's a lot of content out there where people are just throwing up on their microphone. And they will say something 1 second, and 30 seconds later, they'll say something that totally contradicts the point that they were just hammering home, to the point where they had a vein popping out of their forehead. And it's like,
just because you're loud and frothing at the mouth or typing your tweets in all caps doesn't mean you're correct.
Yeah. Right. So again, thank you for that super chat, Jason. Hopefully that answered your question. I know it's a boring answer, but everybody's running the same stuff. It's how much of that stuff is this offense running as opposed to this one. It's just like 12 personnel. We were a little surprised this year that we pressed so hard into 12 personnel. And then we get halfway through the season and the analytics are coming out going, hey, the highest rate of success is actually coming out of 12 and 13 personnel. Now, why is that? The reason being is you've got defenses that are matching personnel, meaning if you come out in 11 personnel, they're going to match you with nickel no matter what the formation is, right? If you come out in 12 personnel, they're going to match it with base. If you come out with 13, they got to make a decision. Do we go even heavier than base with like a 4-4 or a 5-2 look? And what that does is that will open up the passing game, and that's what LaFleur has done. It's one of the reasons why LaFleur and the Packers offense is third in passing right now. People don't know that. Packers are actually third in passing yards per pass attempt right now. And we're screaming and frothing at the mouth or foaming at the mouth on Sunday going, hey, we need to be more aggressive. We need to pass the ball. And I'm like, are we watching the same game? Anyway, Chris Casual says, I don't think so. Clayton White never had the Quinnen pedigree. Quinnen's a freak, right, Chris? There's no two ways about it. Devontae Wyatt is a pass rushing defensive tackle. That's what he is, right? He's a true 3-tech pass rusher. He's gotten better at playing the run, I believe, but he's a true 3-tech pass rusher. Quinnen Williams can do it all, man. He can bully a double team into the lap of the quarterback. He can beat you with a pass rush, and he plays the run really well too. I mean, he had like 4 or 5 years where he's grading out in the 90s. Guys, that's Micah Parsons top grades, right? So Devontae Wyatt hasn't gotten there yet. Hopefully he does, but yeah, I'm with you, Chris. I don't think he's got that pedigree, but yeah. So, and then 2-0 for this says maybe Darrelle Revis. That's a good one. That's
a great one right there. Darrelle Revis, man.
They said, but only in terms of erasing players. And again, that was like that era was starting to come to an end of the number one corner following the number one receiver, right? Because they played a lot of man coverage. And the one I remember is Rex Ryan's defense, right? He had kind of a hybrid version of his daddy's 46 defense, Buddy Ryan, with the 85 Bears.
Yep.
Yeah, and he mixed in man coverage with it, and Revis would just follow the number one. So that was an interesting time. And you notice that he didn't last in the league very long. Rex Ryan didn't. He had a lot of success, right? He made it to the AFC Championship with Mark Sanchez as your freaking quarterback. That says enough in itself. But yeah, I think Revis is of all the people we named. I'm gonna get raked over the coals for this, Tim. But I'm just gonna be honest. That's what I feel like you guys want me to do, whether you agree with me or not. I think I put Revis a little bit higher than Charles Woodson. Don't hate me, but Revis.
Now, Champ Bailey was mentioned in the chat.
Oh, Champ Bailey was good.
Champ Bailey was a dog too, but I don't think he struck fear in the hearts of men quite the way that Deion did in his prime.
Yeah, definitely. So again, I didn't expect the conversation to go in that direction. That was fun though, guys. Appreciate that. If you're watching this video back later, let us know in the comments, what do you think about the trade deadline? I felt like it was a fun trade deadline. The Packers were in on some conversations. Michael Mayer, they were in on that.
Yep.
Man, I was hoping they'd pull the trigger on it, Tim, just because I'm a big Notre Dame fan. And if they could get he's playing his best football right now, but he's the number 2 tight end, obviously, in Vegas behind Brock Bowers. So if he becomes a true number 1 tight end, a wide tight end in a pro offense, maybe he's not as effective, right? With Brock Bowers taking some of that attention away from him. But let us know in the comments, guys, if you're watching this back later, what did you think about the trade deadline? Is there anything you agree with, disagree with what we said? Also, make sure you click like, subscribe, and hit that bell icon so you're notified when we go live here in the future. All right, Tim, let's shift gears, man. Let's talk a little Packers roster shakeup here, man. This was an interesting day, I thought. And listen, I've been sharing Easton Butler's tweets. Guys, Easton Butler has been spot on. Yep. The stuff that he's covered, man, all the way down to the players' numbers. He's got the players' numbers before it hits anybody else. Anybody who thinks Easton Butler doesn't have an inside link there to the Packers, it's either jealousy or you're in denial, right? So
sit your butt outside.
There were people that were replying to tweets I had earlier on, this guy's a fraud. He doesn't know anything. And I'm like, boy, y'all haven't been following him very close, have you? So anyway,
or you're too overly emotional in reading things that aren't there. You know, right. Like one thing I've noticed following Easton Butler is that it's just facts. You know, calls were made, conversations are being had. There's no hype. There's no, specifics or anything. He's just calling it like he sees it for sure.
Yeah. Definitely. Jen Wright says Sadie has to defend this report. It's so true. And it's just best to block those people, man. That's what I do. Just, you know what? If you disagree with what I have to say, why are you even following me? Why are you following along? So
if you hear someone say, hey, phone calls were made and there's conversations happening and then nothing happens, does that mean you're incorrect? Or does that mean that you just reported that there's conversations happening? Right.
Exactly. So I put a tweet out and said, for all those in the comments saying Easton Butler doesn't know what he's talking about, Matt Schneiden actually tweeted out 1 hour ago before we went live, the Packers are looking into the possibility of signing free agent cornerback Asante Samuel Jr. According to a source, nothing definitive, but there's interest. All right. And he's got more here. Go check his article out over at NewYorkTimes.com over at The Athletic. Now, I've been chatting with Easton Butler, and the reality is, guys, Asante Samuel was in-house. I think it was last week, I believe. It was either last week or last month. So, yeah, that's real, you know. And now you get Matt Schneiden, who obviously is a more decorated reporter. He's one of my favorite beat guys, to be honest with you. I love his sense of humor. I love the way he covers the game. Him and Bill Huber, I think, do a great job. But he's pretty much confirming exactly what Easton Butler had talked about. I kind of wish Matt Schneiden would say, hey, Easton Butler was all over this first, but, yeah. And this is what he said.
But again, we're talking about conversations, right?
Right, exactly.
We're talking about meetings. We're talking about, and Asante Samuel Jr. is a free agent. So that's got to be conversation between him and his representation, no more, no less, right?
Definitely. So what Matt Schneiden tweeted out was the Packers are looking into the possibility of signing free agent cornerback Asante Samuel Jr. According to a source, nothing definitive, but there's interest. Basically the same thing that Easton Butler has been saying the entire time, right? Now, there was somebody in the chat here that says, here we go. Sorry, Tim. I didn't mean to step on you there. Holmes MD1 said, I would take a flyer on ASJ for a year or two. I would too, Holmes. But like Tim pointed out, there's other people, right, there's other people that are seeking him too. So it's if you go in there and go, yeah, let's do a 1 year deal, he's probably going to go, stick it up your rear end. I'm going over here where they offer
I'm
me.
thinking he's going to want a 2-year minimum, right? Probably
think,
at least a 2-year, even if it's a fake year, right?
I think it's more about the guaranteed money. And what I mean by that is let's say a team offers him 2 years, $10 million with $5 million guaranteed.
He's signing that.
Well, think if we offered him 1 year, $8 million, or 1 year, $10 million, or I'm sorry, 1 year, $8 million fully guaranteed. He's probably going to take the 1 year because he's getting $3 extra million in guarantee.
More guaranteed. Yep.
Yeah. So you protect yourself from that fusion that he's gotten. Right. So what was the comment you want to hit there, Tim? I'm sorry, man.
Just too old for this here. Butler clarified every single time he has said something that calls don't mean sure things, but people still acted like he was saying it was done deals. And that's exactly what I was saying. Yeah. A lot of these, accounts and, we'll speak specifically about Easton Butler, man. It's just facts. He's plugged in, he's aware of what's going on, and he's not setting narrative. He's just telling you what he's privy to, so shout out to Too Old for this, for acknowledging that. That's exactly what we saw all day online. Right. And he almost said this and nothing happened after the deadline. It's like, bro, nobody said it was a done deal. We said there were conversations. Relax.
It's right there with the people that are all week long. They said nothing about they should start Havrisik over McManus. And then the second McManus misses a kick, like, how do you march him out there like that? And it's like, Bub, show us your comments earlier in the week where you were saying they shouldn't. That's that whole Monday morning quarterback stuff, which most of those people, when they're doing their watch parties, they're drunk as a skunk, don't remember anything anyway. That's a story for another day. Rob Demovsky with a tweet here. Packers roster moves. So tight end Tucker Kraft officially goes to the IR. We all knew it was coming. Obviously, it goes without saying, the ACL. Excited about the comeback story there for Tucker Kraft. Now, defensive lineman Aaron Mosby, tight end Josh Wall to the active roster from the practice squad. So I've seen some people reporting too that you'll notice down here the next line, Tim, tight end McCullen Castles, tight end Drake Dabney, linebacker Christian Welch, wide receiver Michael Woods II to the practice squad. And they were going, McCallum is replacing Tucker Kraft. And I'm going,
no, incorrect.
Josh Wall is the one on the active roster. Now, maybe they know something I don't know. That's possible. And Josh Wall gets cut, right?
Let me be clear. You don't replace Tucker Kraft. There's no replacing that guy.
Yeah, that's a very, very good point, man. So Josh Wall is the one that we need to key in on, though. And I, just watching the tape, guys, I went back today when I got through with Chalk Talk and putting everything together. I went back and watched all of Musgrave's snaps, okay, from this year. And there are times that he's technically playing the Y, but in those times they have Tucker playing the U, motioning out in RPO flats and stuff. So they did become somewhat predictable with Tucker. Not that it mattered because he's just running through cats' faces all day long, right? Yep. But the point is, I think what you're going to get with Musgrave is he's most of the time going to play U, and I wouldn't be surprised if Fitzpatrick becomes the Y. Now, what does that mean? In 12 personnel. That means the guy on the line of scrimmage is the true Y. Okay, the guy playing off the line of scrimmage is going to be your U, and he's typically your motion guy moving back and forth, right? So with that being said, in 12 personnel, I think Fitzpatrick will be on the line because he's a better blocker than Musgrave. But when you go to 11 personnel, I think Musgrave is going to get a large majority of the snaps as the Y in 11 personnel over Fitzpatrick, obviously. Now, there'll be a little bit of a rotation because they even did that with Tucker. They would take Tucker off the field occasionally, put Fitzpatrick in there at Y. Now, most of the time that was a running play, and maybe that is predictable, right? It kind of goes back to what Jason Y was talking about the, if people caught on to the scheme. Mike McCarthy was really, really good at self-scouting, and not that Matt LaFleur and his staff isn't, but you self-scout every week and make sure you're not becoming too predictable. I think they need to kind of maybe key in on that a little bit more, because if this dumb redneck is picking up going, okay, yeah, well, that makes – yeah, you can see that coming a mile away that they were going to use the tight end in that fashion, then I know the smartest coaches in the league can spot it, if that makes sense. So, Tim, I think what you're going to see here, long story short, is you're going to see – in 12 personnel, Fitzpatrick attached on the line, Musgrave moving around like the U. And then when you go to 11 personnel, it's going to predominantly be Musgrave with Fitzpatrick filling in. And then Wild will be now become the Fitzpatrick of the offense, if that makes sense.
Definition of next man up, right? Everybody moves up a notch, get down or lay down, right? And if you're laying down, there's no room for you. makes a lot of sense why there's 2 more tight ends on the practice squad right now.
Yeah.
And shout out to Lecitus Smith, by the way. That's kind of on a personal level, it's hard to see him released. Just helped him and a couple other Packers just helped build a home with Habitat for Humanity up here in Green Bay for a veteran. So big shout out to Lecitus Smith, a guy that trying to find a way onto this team, and just ultimately it's a business, and was released. So we wish him the best. Thank you for your service, Mr. Smith. 3-4 months in Green Bay, already making an impact in the community. So big shout out Lecitus Smith.
Absolutely. So, and who knows, Tim, he may be back, right?
He may be back, right? Hopefully.
Now, again, tight end Drake Dabney, McCallan Castles, and then you got linebacker Christian Welch, wide receiver Michael Woods the second to the practice squad. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on all that. I want to touch on what Coach Lynn says here. I want Belton at tight end, extra lineman with Musgrave playing the U. Hey, this is called, technically it'd be U71. Remember the U71 bacon that we talked with when we had Mike Wall on the show years ago? He would talk about Kevin Berry playing I think it was Kevin Berry or Kyle Berry. Kevin Berry, that's right. Kevin Berry would play U71 bacon. They bring in that extra tight end. So here's the thing with that, Coach. There's 2 ways you can approach it, right? You can go press into 11 personnel now, or you can press into, like you're saying, a heavier look. Now, I will say this. I think we're one of only 3 teams that has not lined up all year long, that has not lined up a offensive lineman at tight end this year. I believe I read that correctly somewhere on social media. If that is indeed true, okay, so maybe that changes. I'm not opposed to it, Coach, but here's the way I look at it. As Bill Belichick always said, and he got this from Bill Walsh back in the 80s. Players win them and coaches lose them, right? The goal is get your best players on the field. So my question would be, and again, it doesn't mean it never should happen, Coach, having an extra lineman out there. But my question would be, who's the better player, right? Anthony Belton, or let's say a Matthew Golden, let's say a Christian Watson, or Romeo Dobbs, or Jaden Reed when he comes back, right? And maybe before Jaden Reed comes back, you press into what Coach Lynn's saying here a little bit, and dabble in that a touch, see if it sparks a running game. That might be the approach too. So for me, man, I would rather see them press into 11 and run out of 11 personnel, and let's spread things out a bit, which you guys remember I said this last year too. Like I want to be very, very clear, Tim. It's a very biased opinion because I like more spread approach. When Matt LaFleur came in with the condensed sets, I was like, I don't like this. And then Aaron Rodgers wins 2 MVPs. You win 13 games, and Clayton had to go, set your ego down, bub. They're doing something right, and
love that Punch Nasty X now, right, Clay?
Yes. So, the approach is when you go spread, you open the defense up and you can run inside, right? Well, when you go with the condensed sets, you can now run outside because everybody's compacted in. Well, the problem is you're going condensed sets, in my opinion. And again, I'm not a former player or a coach or anything like that. But when you go condensed sets and you run in the middle, to me, you're playing into the teeth of the defense. I think that's what's wrong with the running game a little bit. But again, that was my answer last year as well. And, I wasn't a big fan of the SIF block. Now, there was times it would spring people in the split flow looks and things like that. But I would like to see them get a little wider. I would like to see them spread it out, run inside, condense it down, run outside. It's like they're terrified, Tim, to get back to the wide zone run with Josh Jacobs because it doesn't fit his skill set. Josh Jacobs can run wide zone. You see that boy cut on a dime, and that's people hear wide zone, they hear stretch, whatever you want to call it, 26, 25. When you see these type of runs, people immediately think, oh, they're running to the sideline. No, stretch is to get the defense flowing horizontally and then cut back off of it. I mean, you want to get a guess on that or a good look at that. I hate to do this, but go back and watch the Denver Broncos of the 90s. They were the ones who basically invented that. Yeah, not invented it, but they perfected it. Lombardi actually invented the zone blocking scheme. Many people don't know that. But
Terrell Davis running over people's faces all day long. Yeah.
And what they did there was you had old man Shanahan, Mike Shanahan, right? Old man, that's hilarious. You have Mike Shanahan, who came from the Bill Walsh tree. He said, all right, I'm going to take Bill Walsh's West Coast offense, short passing game, and then I'm going to marry it up with Alex Gibbs' zone blocking scheme. And what formed out of that was a wide zone boot scheme. How many times did we see that freaking John Elway?
Yeah.
Terrell
That's why
Davis
they kept running it, because nobody could do anything with it.
Terrell Davis running the ball down your throat, and then he would boot off of it with his mobility and arm strength. And it was just like, Lord, how do you stop this? Right. So, yeah. But Coach, I think I would not be surprised one bit if we see what you're suggesting here, man. I really wouldn't. I'm just more along the lines of I would rather see him press into 11. Malik Heath, guys, I think he's way underrated, man. Yep. He may prove me wrong if he gets an extra, 20 targets or whatever. He may just start sucking. But up to this point, boy, does he maximize his opportunities. And
love Malik Heath, man. I haven't loved anybody wearing 18 in Green Bay since Randall Cobb.
There you go. Let's talk about Josh Wild for a minute. I know there's many people going, who is this guy, right? What has he done? And listen, he may end up being the number 3 tight end for a while. He may be here for a week and a half and he's gone, Tim. But here is who Josh Wild is, all right? So, first of all, he's 6'6". Some people said 6'7". It could be, right? But they got him on PFF at 6'6". He runs a 4.69 40-yard dash. He was a former 5th-round pick of the Tennessee Titans in 2023.
Thick.
This is his 2024 grades, Tim. So he doesn't have any grades in 2025. You can see, man, he peaked at 86.2 on however many, 4 targets there. I'm trying to see the snap. I don't have the snaps. That's okay, though. So in 2024, his best grade was an 86.2. His worst grade, however, was a 45.3. But the majority of them, it looks like, were somewhere between 60 and 70, for the most part. Maybe more 50s than 70s. So
probably, and if you look at the targets, they're on the lower end for his lower grades.
Right. Which, again, that's what we were talking about, right? It's like he's not going to be the focal point when he's in there.
Exactly.
So now let's look at his career grades, okay? 2023 is 62, and he was targeted 15 times. Those targets more than doubled in 2024 to 36, and his grade went up to a 64.8. Tim, that's pretty solid grade, man, for a young player who's getting limited action. That means limited practice reps too. So
almost like the front office knows ball, and that's why he's in the fold right now.
Right, and I'm excited to see what he does, man. I really am. Again, I don't know how long he's going to be here, but you're going to be seeing Josh Wild. There's no two ways about it. He's going to be in the lineup from time to time. So that is your new tight end that I think will be on the active roster, at least for the foreseeable future. Now, obviously, we've talked a little bit about Musgrave, Tim. Let's hit on this, and then we'll move on to the next topic. I just put this out. This was one of his grabs. It's more about the situation where he makes this grab, Tim. That got me fired up. I tweeted this out. Jordan Love to Luke Musgrave for 21 yards on the game-tying fourth-quarter drive. Okay, that's important, guys. You're talking about you're trying to go down and tie the ball game up at the very end of the game, and they connect on a 21-yard game, which, by the way, that's an explosive. That triples your chances of scoring on that drive. Therefore, this is the play that set up the game-tying score, right? I said one thing that pops off Love's tape recently is he's developing touch on intermediate passes. I'm excited to see what Musgrave can do with more opportunities. In this particular game, guys, 3 targets, 3 catches, including this one, like I said, in the fourth quarter. Let's roll it real quick, and we'll give you just 1 or 2 looks at it here. So you see the play fake. That's that orbit fake we were talking about. Not a big fan, Tim, right? Just because, you see everybody flow in that direction, yes, but does it freeze enough? It's more about the cross corner route that you're seeing here. Notice Musgrave is going to run a cross corner, and also Dobby is going to bend in and run a corner route. So what you set up for Jordan here is kind of a boot action play where you got a high-low read. You read the corner up top down to the cross corner. So you're reading up top, mid-level, and then you could dump it off to Savion if you need to as well. And Savion could turn into a blocker if Jordan wants to run. It's more of a true play action set than a boot, obviously. But you see Musgrave right here making his cut back outside. Look at the touch on that throw.
Oh, and I love zero hesitation either. You see as soon as he's into that break, Jordan's letting that thing fly. And I love it.
No doubt about it, man. So, again, I thought that was a nice little play there. Musgrave does a good job hauling it in. Now, listen, it could have been a better ball. Don't get me wrong. Let's watch it one more time, and then we'll cut it before we get clipped here. So it could be a little bit better ball to the sideline, but still Jordan, that touch, man, that's the part of his game that I'm seeing improve the most. And I think what Musgrave did there, Tim, was he's just proven that he's I think he's ready for the task. Now, I don't expect him to be the yak god that Tucker Kraft is. Anybody who expects that, man, you're setting yourself up to be disappointed. But I think what he does do is he runs clean routes. He's got good hands. He's got a size advantage when you want to take a shot on a linebacker or a safety. And I think he'll be a nice little fill in there. You'll want to put Fitzpatrick in a position to block the majority of the time, but there's going to be times in 11 personnel that Musgrave's going to have to block. So
that's what I talked about last night. We want the Piss a little hotter in the blocking scheme for Musgrave. That's really the one part of his game that me personally, I'd like to see him kind of take that next step, but I'm not worried about him as a route runner and a pass catcher. Looking at that play, I mean, you're right. If Jordan puts a slightly better ball, maybe you get a little yak on that, but I think he saw that help, biting down over the top, and he just wanted to get that thing in Musgrave's hands. And great hands catch, turn up field. Musgrave stayed on his feet. Let's go. And, another thing we can't forget is the trust factor is there. That's already been built. The foundation is there. Jordan trusts Luke Musgrave as a pass catcher. And you can see it right there on that play. No hesitation whatsoever. It's real easy to take another hitch and maybe try to go to another read in that situation. He fired that tater right away. I love it.
Definitely. Jake with the super chat. Appreciate you, buddy. When Jordan gets his deep ball down and hits receivers in stride, 40-plus yards, he'll be great. Yeah, that's one part of his game he can work on for sure. Although that ball he put on Christian Watson, boy, I don't know how you throw it any
like
better.
Emilio said, right in his face mask.
I mean, he just put it right on his face mask. And Christian Watson looks so smooth, just falling backwards, making that grab. Oh, it's awesome.
You think Scoot's taking protein powder and hitting the gym thinking maybe he can play a little tight end in a pinch?
Oh, you know it. You know it. And Jake, we're actually going to hit that next. We're going to talk Christian Watson here in a second. Thank you for the super chat, buddy. 2-0 for this. Musgrave needs to start eating mac and cheese. Yes, sir. Get it in your system there, Musgrave. 2-0 for this says if the ball is right on 88's hands, he will catch it. If it's off, then that's where I get nervous. He also seems to have a lot of miscommunication issues. Hopefully, with him being tight end one, that clears. That's what I was going back to over this. Like in those situations where you're in 11 personnel, he's not getting as many practice reps as Tucker was with Jordan, right? So they're going to start to develop a little more chemistry. That chemistry they kind of had his rookie year where you had, before he got hurt, he had over 400 yards receiving, right? His grade was like a 68 PFF grade. But then when he got hurt in his second year, Tucker just took that job and ran with it, right? So
that's a great point, Clayton, saying that like now that he's in the one, he's going to get those reps, the communications, the checks, the cans, those kind of things, right? Choice route, post snap kind of busted play, scramble drill. Yeah. Those kind of things are going to come together for Musgrave.
I think that's one thing that us fans, myself especially, overlook from time to time. We get so caught up with what happens on Sunday that it's easy to formulate an opinion, just like people raking the coaching staff over the coals for not starting Haversick over McManus. Guys, they watched them kick all week. Do you think for a second they went with the worst kicker on purpose? Like, you know what I mean? Like what it tells me is McManus looked good in practice. Now, I think he kind of overthought it in the game. Now, listen, that's not to say McManus is the kicker of the future. They may cut ties with him after this year. The reality is they could free up almost, I think it's $1.6 million in cap space next year if they cut him outright. So it's really, they got a 1 year out. It's a 3-year deal with a 1 year out. And then they could just move along with Haversick. I just like the idea that they got both there. And nobody's more upset about missing that kick than obviously than McManus is. So again, if you guys are watching this video back later, let us know what you think about the latest Packers roster moves. Let us know about the tight end position. How do you feel about Musgrave? How do you feel about Weil? Do you think that they'll keep Weil? Do you think they'll move on from him and maybe bring up one of these practice squad tight ends and put them in the lineup? Make sure you hit subscribe, hit like, let us know what you think in the comments, and click that bell icon when so you're notified when we go live here in the future. Let's see what we got here, Tim, before we move on to the next spot. Holmes says, Tim, the piss heater upgrade will be complete for Monday's contest. Fingers crossed.
I absolutely love it. I'll be in the building. I hope the piss is hot for 88 on Monday. We're going to need them. We are. Philly is no joke, right?
Mandy's trying to talk me into going up there. She's like, we can hop on a flight. We can be up there in a couple of days. We can get there. I'm going, stop it. Just stop it. You're going to – this girl.
I'll pick you up from Straubel. No problem. I got you, Clay.
I know you do, man. And listen, I'm saying stop it because she knows all she got to do is she ain't got to push very hard, and I'm on that plane, man. I'm up there with my
scared money don't make money.
There you go. All right, let's shift gears, guys. I'm excited about talking about this. Christian Watson, guys.